Today we're talking about why the INFJ walks away too late too often. So this is probably one of the stories I hear most often from INFJs. The story of, oh, I should have known better sooner. Like, I know this job situation wasn't healthy for me. I know this friendship was toxic. I know this person didn't have really the best intentions with me. I knew it on some level, but it took me a long time. In the end, of course, I pulled the trigger. I did what was necessary because I do have the power to do that, but I should have done it earlier. And today we're going to talk about why it takes the INFJ so long. Some people really take it to the grave with them and they suffer and they never get out of those unhealthy situations. We very often do. But it's really at such a place where you've already given so much of yourself, you've depleted yourself, and therefore it takes a long time to recover. So today we're going to talk about why this is happening, how you can change that behavior, and how you can use the knowledge of why this is happening actually to your benefit. Before we get started, remember, if you haven't done this so far, to download the poster on the 5 pillars to an INFJ epic life. And if you want to take it to the next level, then get the INFJ epic life audio guide. All the information you find in the links in the description. So when it comes down to it, the main reason why INFJs stay in a situation too long that isn't healthy for them is because we want the other person to get it by themselves. What do I mean by this? I mean, we want the other person to understand that they're in the wrong. We want the other person to understand that we have tried everything, that we have sacrificed ourselves, that we have been a great friend, that we have overextended ourselves. We want that person to recognize this by themselves. We don't want to be the one who forced them into it. We don't want them to be like, I'm doing this because you asked me to do this. We want people to get to a place where they say, oh, I see who you are. I appreciate you for who you are. And I thank you for everything you've done for me, right? That's what we want. And guess what? That's something in 99.9% of all the cases you're never going to get. And that is why it takes so long, right? It's not because we're gullible. It's not because we, have some kind of fantasy that is unrealistic. There are some rational thoughts behind it. There is a reason in this thinking. We want people to get it by themselves, right? It is the main factor here. We don't want to be the ones who force them because we know how it has felt for us to be forced into something. The whole problem with this is that we actually think we do have any kind of power over how people actually feel. We don't. We can express something, but how people interpret that is on them. And if you think like you would have control over how a person reacts, if you would actually force them to see it from your perspective, that also means that on some level, people have that power over us. And this is where it all starts making sense. So let me put this in a nutshell so it becomes really clear. The point is that if we wait for another person to get it, we're actually saying, I don't believe I deserve this until that person gets it by themselves. I want to have proof for the fact that I'm lovable, that I'm a good person, that I'm a good worker. And the only way I can get this is if that person gets it by themselves. And that's just completely the wrong approach here. Because at that moment, you have to become aware that you don't believe that you deserve this. Because if you did, you wouldn't care if the other person gets it or not. You would demand it one way or another. And that person either, plays by your rules or, the relationship ends. And it can be a relationship with your boss where you say, I end this relationship by quitting. Or I end this relationship by going to human resources and telling them about, that certain things are not the way they're supposed to be. I mean, think about it. If we take a very extreme example here of, let's say, a physically abusive relationship, the person who's in that relationship, the victim in that scenario, right? They also want the other person to understand, I'm trying my best here. I'm being your best friend. I'm being your cheerleader. I'm being here to support you. Please see and recognize that I deserve not to be hit, right? But if you are a stable person who's never been in a physically abusive relationship, you know that's what you deserve. This wouldn't be an option. You wouldn't wait for the other person to get it. You would demand that you're physically unharmed. For INFJs, very often it's not even the physical, problem. It's like emotional abuse. It's the whole thing about being codependent and being attracted to narcissists. So there is a correlation in all of this. And so it really makes sense to look at this and to understand the root of it all, right? If you believe that you deserve to be treated a certain way, you demand it one way or another. And it doesn't matter who it is, if it's an authority figure, if it's somebody from your family, if it's like somebody that you have, romantic feelings for. This is something which is not up for debate. So if you're now in a position where you say, I don't want to be that person anymore, we have to actually, take it from a different perspective. Meaning, if I want to be somebody who actually believes that they deserve something, I have to demand it, although currently, at some level, I don't think I do, right? If you, for example, feel like, oh yeah, maybe I'm not a good enough worker, I need to prove it to my boss until they get it, that you say, how would I act if I felt like I was a good worker? How would I act if I felt like I deserved all the respect from a family member or from a romantic interest or whatever it may be, right? And then you act like this. And this transition is the hardest part because you feel guilty, because you feel like, okay, you're lying, you're doing something that is, just not right, because in the end, you want the other person to give you the approval. But if you already know that's not the way to go, it has to come from a place where you actually believe that this is happening, and you're going to get there by doing the steps that prove to yourself that this is exactly who you are. Things start changing because our behavior really shapes our identity. If we keep doing something, we start believing it. If we continuously keep the promises we make to ourselves, guess what? You build an identity based on the fact that you're somebody who keeps the promises they make to yourself. If you keep making promises to yourself and you break them, you build an identity on somebody who continuously breaks their promises. And this goes for everything. So that transition, although it might be hard and it might seem like a lie, is what we have to do. Think about it from perspective of something that you know for sure. For example, knowing, okay, of course, I don't deserve to be physically harmed. I know this. Like, no matter what, if another person was around me and they felt like I wasn't a good enough person for this, wouldn't change my understanding of this. I know what I deserve in this scenario. Some things are very obvious to us. Hopefully, this thing is also very obvious to you. But there are other things that aren't that obvious to us. And it's nothing to be ashamed of because all people suffer from this on some level. But we can take advantage of the fact that we know how this actually works in our mind. As in, I want to feel like I deserve to be treated well in my work environment and to be respected for the work I put out there just because I'm a human being and I'm here and I'm doing my best. And I want it to be as clear to me as if it would be if it was a question about, being physically unharmed. Very often you'll see that your behavior will also change in a different way. So let's say you're at work and you say, I do my best and I want to get recognized for this. If you're in this scenario, you'll see that you will behave really from a perspective of I'm doing my best. Very often, before we make that transition, we're not really doing our best because then we can always say, oh, there's a reason why the boss doesn't give me the respect that I deserve because I'm not actually putting in everything that I can. But if you know, okay, I'm proving to myself this is the best I can do and I demand the respect for that. And if you're not getting it, then you remove yourself from the situation or you stay within that field, but you're not playing into other people's games. You're not putting yourself in the supporting role of somebody else's movie who looks at you in a way that is not making you feel good. And this goes for absolutely everything. You'll see how you stop having feelings for certain people because the only way they would recognize you in their life is if you play into the role that they have assigned for you. And that role, most of the time, is not the best thing for you. And so when you change that perspective, when you say, these are things I demand, this is how I want to be seen because this is how I see myself, this is how I want to see myself. And I'm building an identity around that so I really get to a place where I believe it. And I do this by taking action before it has been like really clear to me because I know I need to change things. I know I have to get to a place where I respect myself, I love myself, I do things that are important to me. And then you see like the big shift. I mean, think about it like this. We are INFJs, meaning when we have grown up, the typical thing we have done in order to survive is to be the person that other people wanted us to be. Because when we're younger, our first functions are the ones that are most developed. So for us, it's our intuition, our introverted intuition and our extroverted feeling. So this is how we coped with reality. We didn't have other choices. Our thinking process wasn't that developed. Our, SE, as in how much action we take in the world, wasn't as developed. Those functions, they happen later in life. Like, I'm not saying that, when you're 5 years old, you're less smart than somebody who has like TI as their first function. It's more of, having a sense of what is right and holding on to that. We're way more flexible in that regard. So if you see people around you that give you an impression of, okay, you need to behave a certain way, so I like you, we as INFJs tend to fall into that as little kids. It happens as a natural thing. Particularly as kids, we need to be protected. We need to be included. And so, it's just a natural thing that happens. And guess what? Most people are not really whole and healed within themselves, and they project it in some kind of way, and we just take it on. So from an early age, we have conditioned ourselves, and we have been conditioned by society to, look at what others need, look at what makes sense for them. And it's just become our second reality. It feels so real. This is not just I know that this is happening on a rational level. No, it feels like the truth. So if you meet somebody and they mirror back to you, I don't think the way you are is right. We feel it. It feels real to us. We actually feel, I'm not good enough. I'm not a good human being. Those things are really part of us. Of course, that person nowadays is just mirroring stuff back that we've been carrying within ourselves for, since we were children, but it is still happening. So if we want to change that, we first have to recognize that, seeking that external validation that is just, common in human beings. Like, don't take it in a way of, I'm not seeking external validation. I'm all about like being my true self. I get that. Right? It's not like you're, dressing in a certain way for other people to like you, but those things are deeply rooted within ourselves. Like, we have to be honest with ourselves that in some level, of course, there are those things that play a part in our life, and we're never above that. And the sooner we recognize it, the sooner we can change it. So when you know that this is part of, the problem, you also recognize I have to get away from that. And the best way to do this is to first take the action, act in a way as in I deserve this, and this is really important, to be okay with the biggest fear of what that outcome could be. Meaning, okay, if I demand this, my boss will think I'm an idiot. That person will think I'm, self-absorbed. My parents will think that I just don't have any, feelings for them, or I don't respect them, or whatever it may be. Like, your biggest fears, face them. Recognize that this is a possibility, that this is exactly something that can happen, and many cases will happen if you start for the first time playing by your own drums. That's the reaction you're going to get. Don't tell yourself, my parents will understand somehow, or my boss will then recognize, that I am a good worker. No, go at it from a place of, I will demand this, and if my boss thinks I'm a complete idiot and I don't deserve to be at this company, or, he thinks I'm a loser or delusional, or whatever it may be that is going on through your mind in any scenario, face that and say, I will do this despite that reaction that will probably happen. And that's a completely different thing, because if you do this in the hope that people will change their point of view, you're still at that first level where you're seeking others' validation, where you need them to get it by themselves that you deserve it. But we don't want to get there. We want to get to a place where you say, even if everybody around me felt like I didn't deserve this, I know I do. Even if there were, 4 people around me who are all used to being in, abusive relationships and being like, not the victim, but like the abuser in that situation, they all felt like I needed to be, I'm not a good enough person and I don't deserve good treatment. I still know I do, right? That's where we want to get to, but not with these extreme examples, but even like with normal stuff, like when I go to work, I want a boss who wants to see me win. I don't want a boss who just continuously puts me down because they have some kind of problem on their own. And I'm not here to prove my worth to them. I'm here because I know this is the best I can do. And even if from a professional standpoint, this is not what they expect, I still deserve all the respect because I'm a human being and I'm standing in front of you and I demand the same respect I'm giving to you to be given back to me. And this goes for all kinds of relationships, romantic relationships with your family, with your friends, whatever it may be. So think about it. Change that approach and you will never get to a situation again where you feel like, okay, I left way too late and I do this way too often. Remember, if you want some help in building like this core view of what makes sense to you, the things that you demand, so it happens in a natural flow, then get the poster to the 5 pillars. And if you want to take it to the next level, then get the INFJ Epic Life audio guide. All the information you find in links in the description. And if you want to watch another video now that is in alignment with today's topic, then watch the video Why People Get Blindsided Testing the INFJ.